Welcome to ProgAxia and Prog's Greatest Albums. With me, Andy Phillips, and Dr. Prog himself, Paul Googe, and today we're looking at Going for the One by Yes.
Hey everyone, it's Paul here with Andy. Hi Andy.
How you doing?
Good. So we are running through some of the albums that we consider to be particularly important to us. Yeah? And what we're doing, in case people aren't aware, we're kind of like alternating, one of us choosing one to lead on, although we're both familiar with each other's choices, canonical though they are. And this week, we're going to be going for one of my choices, which is Going for the One by Yes. So important, we've both got vinyl copies of it. So Andy, why don't you lead? What does this mean to you?
This album, I remember buying it on like the day it came out, because this was sort of 77, wasn't it? I think it came out
July 77.
Yeah, and so I was right in the zone here. You know, I'm really into progressive rock. 17 years old, going to lots and lots of gigs and things like that. And yes, we're a sort of a legacy band. You know, I've got the Close to the Edge, I've got the Relays, I've got the Tales from Topographic Oceans, and I love them all. And played them on a regular basis. And then they were going to bring this new album out, Going for the One, and there was a tour coming up and all that sort of stuff. And I was like genuinely really excited because I'd never seen Yes. I'd never seen Yes before. I hadn't seen them on any other tour. It was a bit of a pain because I'm a QPR fan and they played the QPR Stadium, and I never went. I just never went to it, which is, it's always been a bit of a bugbear for me. So I was going to go and see Yes for the very first time on this tour. And I didn't really know what to expect because every Yes album, as you well know, Paul, is very different. Right from the early days, they'd sort of changed styles along the way. And Close to the Edge is different to Relay is different to Tales, and all that sort of thing. So I didn't really know what to expect from the album. And I remember sort of queuing up with my mates to buy this exact copy. This is not a reissue. This is the one I bought on that day. And it's still in really, really good nick. Got all the lyrics and everything, got lyric sheet and all that sort of stuff. And it's a trifold. In great album, completely different to the other ones because he doesn't have a Roger Dean cover, although it's still got the logo. And I remember buying it, I remember putting it on and having sort of mixed feelings because it was a different type of Yes to me. But right from putting the needle on the records for the very, very first track, Going for the One, it was upbeat, it was rocky, and I thought, this is really good. I mean, it's not like Relayer. It's not as cerebral as Relayer, which is one I've been playing a lot of at the time before this, because I really did love that album. And so, yeah, it was, I put it on, Going for the One, turn of the Century, Parallels, Wondrous Story, and Awaken, and played it all the way through numerous times, and every single time heard something different. Every time I play the album today, still hear something different. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm still a few years your junior, so I was 13 and a bit when this came out, and I think what was important for me was because 77, there was some other music out at the time, wasn't there? Gaining attention in the press. Two Chords and The Truth Man, and so there was some people jumping on that bandwagon, I think, at school and everything. And I'd been lent earlier albums by Yes, but they weren't kind of my albums, and so I could buy this and sort of claim it as mine. Just as in the same year, Animals came out, and I was a bit too late for Dark Side and Wish You Were Here, so they're kind of other people's albums. But Animal, and you said about track one, side one. When Steve starts going at it on his pedal steel guitar and everything, and it is rocky, and it is all these accusations of fey pastoralism of progressive rock, which Genesis could be at times. But you got this stuff which it's got balls to it. As we've discussed before, there is a rock element to progressive rock, and they did go for it. And so yes, as you say, they retained the Rogers logo, and he's rightly given credit for that inside. But it was different, wasn't it? I mean, that is a very different, conceptual artwork from what they'd had before. And I think it is Jon Anderson's Naked Buttocks that we get to see there, isn't it? I suspect. But yeah, so it was different. It was different because it was mine. It was different to punk. It was different to what they'd done before. So I was automatically predisposed to I'm probably going to like this. And then the music, and we could probably talk about some of the tracks. So yeah, it just stood out for me, sort of like moment one.
So you talk about Naked Buttocks. So we've got this one here. And right, I mean, I don't know why, but right next to it, I've got this one.
Yeah.
So what the hell is going on with prog rock bands in the sort of mid to late 70s and naked men?
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, it's discuss.
Discuss.
I mean,
let's look at the tracks. Let's go through some of these tracks, right? Going for the one. I mean, and I'm going to talk about these in a way because, as I said, I went to the tour on this, which was my first Yes concert, and this is the return of Rick Wakeman, of course, as well. They made a big deal out of the return of Rick Wakeman.
Yeah, so there's pressure and expectation there, wasn't there?
Yeah. There was huge expectation. I don't know about the pressure. No pressure from me. Whether they had pressure, I really don't know. But it was good to have Rick Wakeman back because he's a showman, and you'd seen all the stuff with his cloaks, and I get a bit fed up when people talk about who was the real Yes. This is the real Yes, as well as every other sort of incantation of Yes, any sort of blooming of any Yes group on any album. That's Yes. That's the Yes it was. So got Peter Banks in there, whatever. It's like that's Yes. But for this, it was Rick Wakeman, and it was his return. It was like Return of the Prodigal Son. So I'll talk about this from the aspect of going to see them as well as just listening to the thing. But live, they played all the tracks live. They played every single track that's on this album on that tour live. And by the time I actually got to that gig, I would have probably played this album, I don't know, 50 times or something. Really, really got into it, really started to love it, and it became my favorite Yes album because it was brand new, and it was like, and again, I think it is because it was like the very first one that I had bought, which wasn't in retrospect.
Yeah.
I went out and I stood outside the record shop on the day it was released and went and bought it. First Yes album I've actually done that. So to me, it's special as well. Same as you. It's a special album. And then going to see them on tour and watching them play, especially things like Awaken and Parallels. Those two tracks are just incredible. Wondrous Stories, I love. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of music. So is Turn of the Century. Turn of the Century is absolutely gorgeous. Brilliant guitar playing, brilliant singing. And again, you can just imagine. Steve Howe and Jon Anderson sitting down, working this track out, taking out all the, shaking all the problems out of it and just presenting it to the band, and the band just going, this just sounds great. And then everybody just bunging themselves into it,
It's interesting because I think it's right that Alan White had quite a hand in that track. So it's him that originally came up with the idea, Pygmalion based. or La Bohème, and I believe he originally set out the melody line and everything and played it to them on the piano. And then they took it and run with it, absolutely. And I think it is beautiful. Steve Howe, I know, is a fan of it, particularly the intro, which is wonderful. It sets the scene. No, that's what great progressive rock music does. I think it sets the scene for you, draws you into this world. Going for the one, because there's some wonderful lyrics here. And yet, people talk about Jon Anderson, and he's off with the fairies again, isn't he? What's he on about? But it's wonderful. So the second verse, whatever, third verse, depending on how you look at it. Now, the verses I've sang don't add much weight to the story in my head. So I'm thinking I should go and write a punchline, but they're so hard to find in my cosmic mind. I mean, there's a guy not taking himself too seriously, whether they're his buttocks on the front or not, as part of his model for various album covers. So, I mean, that's a bit of fun. So you've got these rocky lyrics, and if you're not careful, you just sort of dismiss a rocky sound, and you just dismiss the lyrics because it's John going off on one, isn't it? But he's having some fun there whilst he's going for the one man and trying to find the ultimate solution in the universe, having tried to find it on Close to the Edge.
Well, this is the beautiful thing about the lyrics, though. When you've got like a lyric sheet, and you can sit down, on my beanbag. I used to sit down on my beanbag with my headphones on, and and just get lost in this. And you talk about some of these lyrics, but you got that whole section which is like taken so high to touch to move, taken alive, touching touch time, travel twilight, taken so high, and it just rolls and rolls and rolls. A brilliant track. And you're right with Turn of the Century. It's sort of easy to forget that Alan White really has a lot to do with a lot of this stuff. But that one, the Turn of the Century, is it starts with Alan White. So Anderson, Howe, and White attributed to that. And it again, as I say, it is a beautiful track, and the lyrics are lovely, and everything just feels so cool on this album. I don't think there is not a duff track on this album.
No, I don't think so. I know some people find Wondrous Stories a bit too light, whatever. With Wakeman doing some fairly sort of like by the numbers sort of tinkling of the piano, but it fits together.
It fits beautifully, and it's 3.5 minutes, mate. Live with it.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Parallels, because the first two tracks, I'm just looking at it again. Squire's bass sort of appears on Going for the One, but it's a bit in the mix, not so much on Turn of the Century, but then he comes to the fore with Parallels, which presages, I think, some of the stuff on Drama in sort of its style and everything. But you've got Wakeman on that, and obviously on Awaken, just sort of going for it with the church organ. Which is wonderful. It's got that big, grandiose sound. And even if he's not wearing it, you can imagine the cape sort of fluttering behind him as he's got all 7 hands on various polymoogs and whatever else he's playing at the time. So
Do you know the weird thing that sort of blows me away is that between I guess between sort of 75 and 76, all the band members went off to do their own solo albums. So Myths and Legends of King Arthur, Rick Wakeman did. Criminal Record he did as well, which I don't really know that well. I don't know if it's any good. I don't have it. I never really listened to it properly. But we also got Beginnings. Steve Howe did Beginnings, which is a great album.
Well, I like it.
Eliza saying hello, Jon Anderson. And
Fish Out of Water.
Yeah, Chris Squire, Fish Out of Water. And actually Parallels was a track that was going to be on Fish Out of Water, and didn't sort of, I don't think he sort of wrapped his head around it properly, and then brought it to the table with the new S album. And I'm so pleased he did. I mean, I love that album, that Chris Squire album, Fish Out of Water. I do play it quite a lot. There's a lot of really good tracks on there. But I'm glad that he sort of brought Parallels to the Yes table rather than do it on his solo album, because again, it's a huge classic track.
and then you got Awaken, which is the classic track. Everything's in there, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I think for a number of people, it is now a favourite, if not the favourite Yes track. The way it builds up, the different sections of it. It's about 15 minutes or so, isn't it? I think. Yeah. You've got Jon Anderson in Jon Anderson mode with his lyrics, but you do have the interesting percussive bit, I guess, around the middle. The way it comes back to sort of like a recurring theme. You've got the Anderson, the Wakeman down the telephone line, wasn't it? Down the telephone line, phoning in his his organ part from, as it says here, St. Martin's Church in Vevey. So, but yeah, I remember going on the tour and then playing this, and me just drifting off into the Yes world when they did this. Absolutely, what a way to finish an album.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's 15.5 minutes of just pure Yes glory. Fantastic track. And I remember because when I went to see them, the show, I went to Wembley Arena, and I remember getting excited because Donovan was actually the opening act, and I loved Donovan. Right from a kid, I'd loved Donovan, and to have, to be able to go and watch Donovan live first before Yes, it was perfect, absolutely perfect. And again, they started with Firebird Suite, just made it a perfect gig. Just absolutely wonderful gig, and a great tribute to a fantastic album.
Yeah. Well, didn't Donovan used to sing about Sunny Gooch Street? So there's a good thing.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's right up there with every other Yes album. It's a wonderful album, and also, like you, I sort of feel like it's part of my childhood, part of my growing up, part of my awakening, really.
Aha!
I'm learning from you. I'm learning from the master.
And we welcome Andy to the pun world. That's great. I think we've done it justice.
I think we have, mate. I think we have. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We really need some love and support from all you lovely prog heads. So as soon as you watch this, just subscribe to the channel. Let's get those numbers up. And if you've got any comments, then comment on this as well. Tell us about your experience of some of these albums we're talking about. Be really interesting to find out. Did you buy this at the time, or did you go back to it? Because we have a lot of that where we've gone back to albums just too young. I was born in 1960, so it's 1973. I was 13 years old. I was still listening to David Bowie and Mark Bolan and things like that. So by the time this sort of stuff came out, I was well in it. So anyway, cheers, Paul. That's been actually fantastic, mate. And so we'll see everybody next time. See you later. Ta-da.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on the ProgAxia podcast. Don't forget to like this video and also to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us. We'll see you next time.